Today, we really had a great lunch, productive, enthusiastic. We spent a lot of time on implementation, which is going really well. In fact, I met yesterday with Natalie Quillian, and she is the Deputy Secretary, Chief of Staff in charge of implementation. So we talked a lot about that and other things, and it was a great meeting. I want to thank Senators Reid and Blumenthal and Hirono for joining me today. So first on McCarthy and the debt ceiling. So this morning, Speaker McCarthy did an interview demanding to sit down with President Biden to negotiate a debt ceiling. Yet to date, after constant requests, Speaker McCarthy has yet to produce any type of plan detailing what specific cuts he wants in raising the debt ceiling. Today he said, what about $4 trillion in cuts? Well, what are they? A number is not a plan, especially a number that's so vague and amorphous that he doesn't name anything specific at all. So, if they were to sit down, you'd have to ask yourself, what are Speaker McCarthy and President going to talk about? The weather? Without a plan. We have a plan. We want to pass the debt ceiling without hostage-taking, without brinksmanship, and just get it done like we've done under both Presidents Trump and Biden. They still don't have a plan. If Speaker McCarthy truly has a plan, then lay it out. This isn't about a number. It's about having details, facts, simply put, a plan. And at a time when our country needs a solution, the Republicans in the House are giving us just brinksmanship. We say back to Speaker McCarthy once again, because he hasn't advanced the ball one jot, show us your plan. The reason he doesn't want to do it, in my judgment, my humble judgment, because he can't get 218 votes for any plan. But the idea of saying what he said over and over again, let's meet without a plan, doesn't advance the ball forward one bit. We have a plan, they don't. Okay. Now, on the military generals, which is what we're mainly here to talk about today. As some of you know, a very troubling situation is developing in the Senate. One senator, just one single senator, my colleague from Alabama, Senator Tuberville, is blocking all general and flag officer confirmations, taking our military, our national security, our safety hostage. For years and years and years, both parties have worked together to quickly confirm the routine promotions of generals and flag officers without partisan bickering, without needless delay. It's important to be clear that Tuberville is not just blocking a targeted group of nominees. He is blocking all senior military officer promotions, creating a ripple effect, severely hindering our military's work in critical areas like Pacific and the Middle East. Our general to NATO, he's one of the people he's blocking at a time when we have a war with Putin in Ukraine. It's just horrible what he is doing. One member is blocking all of these people. Now, it's very simple. The senior senator from Alabama wants to make personal health care decisions for the women of our military. Not only does Senator Tuberville want to control the decisions women in the military make about their own health, he's willing to hurt our troops and our country to do so. Now, gonna get stuck together. Here we go. So the senator from Alabama clearly risks permanently injecting politics into confirmation of routine military promotions, something risking our national security. And for what? So he can push the MAGA hard line on blocking women's choice, which the vast majority of women and all Americans do not support? That's beyond the pale. And let's be clear, the senator from Alabama's delay has been for months. It's reckless. It puts our security in general. Among the 160 nominees include 5 three-star generals, commanders for U.S. naval forces in the Pacific and the Middle East, areas we're confronting China and Iran respectively, and, as I said, the U.S. military representative to the NATO Military Committee. I know, he's saying, I feel passionately about this issue. Members often feel passionately about issues. I do. Every one of us here does. But you don't. If every senator who felt passionately held up all of our appointments to the military, our military would collapse. Collapse. Plain and simple. So, the obstruction is dangerous for our national security. I urge my Republican colleagues on the other side, a few of whom have already spoken out, to prevail on the senator from Alabama that what he is doing is very damaging to America, to our military, to our security, and not really fair to these general officers who've worked their way up and have schedules of promotions and then get delays for no reason that their fault. So as we wrap up this work session, I want to turn to Senator Reid, our chair of the Armed Services Committee, to further elaborate on this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Leader. Senator Tuberville has mounted a profound assault on the professionalism of the military of the United States. These ladies and gentlemen who are selected, it is based on their performance, their dedication, their sacrifice, their service. They are selected by other professionals strictly with respect to their skills, their talent, and above all, their commitment to the Constitution of this country. Now they're becoming political hostages. That's all. And that is a dangerous, dangerous trend for our military and also for our political process. We're in a situation now where we are beginning to see critical positions that are in jeopardy of not being filled in a timely way. One of them, as Senator Schumer alluded to, is the Fifth Fleet that operates in CENTCOM. And so when you hear a lot of my colleagues, particularly my Republican colleagues, talk about the great threat to Iran, their hostility, et cetera, well, ask yourself, how is denying the Fifth Fleet a commander going to help us in that area of contest and struggle? It's not. It'll hurt us. As Senator Schumer also said, they are blocking the appointment of our U.S. military representative to NATO at a time when NATO is a key part of a worldwide coalition to help the Ukrainian people fight back their Russian invaders. Now, that's bad enough. We've got a lot of general officers that are on hold. But let's look ahead. Within the next 8 months, there will be approximately 80 general officer and flag officer nominees coming through our committee. These officers include 3 combatant commanders: Cybercom, Spacecom, and Northcom. 3 deputy combat commanders, the deputy at Cybercom, CENTCOM, and AFRICOM. 3 service chiefs of staff: the Army, the Chief of Naval Operations of the Navy, and the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and the Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force. And in addition, in September, the term of the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, expires under law. If this continues, we will have, within a few months, no leadership in the significant parts, in fact, almost the entire Department of Defense. We'll have acting people, we'll have temporary people, and we need leadership right now. This is completely unacceptable. So if my colleagues believe in the need for a strong military based on constitutional and professional values, they won't inject this political theater into this process. And if we do not have a coherent, organized leadership in the Department of Defense, then we're putting our troops at risk, grave risk. And that, to me, is unacceptable.
Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you. Senator Reid and Senator Schumer have said it well. this effort is totally unprecedented and deeply perilous. It involves politicizing the military in a way that we have avoided doing during our entire history as a nation. We are the envy of the world, not just because of our ships and tanks and nuclear arms, which are the best on the planet, but because of our people. Right now, our military services are already below their recruiting goals. And what we're saying to the young men and women who are thinking about joining the military is one of the areas of American life that we have spared politicizing is now about to be degraded to that level. We cannot afford to allow this unprecedented and deeply dangerous trend to continue. Now, reproductive health care is health care. I trust women, particularly women who have joined our military, to make their own decisions. I trust women to make these decisions more than I trust any senator or any government official. And this health care is something that the women who join the ranks of our military deserve as a matter of health care. And let me just say finally, one senator paralyzing and politicizing our military leadership is completely intolerable. It ought to be intolerable for anybody on both sides of the aisle. I hope our Republican colleagues will express themselves unequivocally to our colleague from Alabama. And let me say to him, you've made your point. We know where you stand. We know you feel passionately. Now let the military have the leadership it needs and deserves, and let women who join the military make their own health care decisions. Trust them to do it. I sometimes think on the Armed Services Committee about what our former colleague John McCain would think about an issue. And I think it's pretty clear what John McCain would think about this issue. Regardless of what you think about reproductive rights, our military should be above the political fray, and one senator should not interfere with our military leadership decisions. Senator Hirono.
Senator Hirono.
I'm glad to be here with my colleagues. I have been a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee ever since I got elected to the Senate, and the Republicans and Democrats alike acknowledge that right now we are facing the greatest security threats to our country. And so at a time when we have faced the greatest security threats, which, by the way, Senator Tuberville is also on that committee, just because he doesn't like the fact that the Department of Defense would like to enable women in the military to access reproductive services, not any particular kind of service, mind you, just because he doesn't like that, because he thinks, wrongly, that this is all about paying for abortions, which is not the case. You know, it would be really helpful if Republicans would stick to facts sometimes, but apparently facts do not interfere with their knee-jerk reactions. So here we are, he's saying a blanket no, he's putting a hold on all military confirmations at a time when we need all hands on deck. What is so hard about understanding that we need to get on with it? And so, you know, I throw up my hands sometimes. So this is not about the DOD paying for abortions, by the way. This is about enabling women who serve in the military to have access to reproductive services regardless of what state they are deployed. Get the facts straight. I just want to say one thing about raising the debt ceiling. It is about paying our bills. Yet it's something else that the Republicans don't seem to understand. I know when they buy stuff, they know that they have to pay the bills, so what's so hard about understanding that raising the debt ceiling is about paying your bills? And now we're told that Kevin McCartney would like to talk about $4 trillion in cuts. You think 65 million seniors in our country don't gather that maybe where he's going to give $4 trillion in cuts will be on Social Security and Medicare, and you think 65 million seniors will not figure out that that's where they're going, and they will definitely not be pleased. So paying our bills. That's what we need to do. Confirming our military leaders, that's what we need to do.
Thank you, Senator Hirono.
Leader
Yes,
Schumer,
ma'am.
The President has asked repeatedly for you to put the assault weapons ban on the floor. Do you intend to do so?
Look, as you know, I care passionately about this. I'm the author of the bill that passed in 1994, and we're working hard to get enough votes to pass it.
But
Yes.
You have been critical of House Republicans when they have stepped in on the District of Columbia and their issues. There was an aide to Senator Paul who was stabbed in very serious condition the other night. What do you think should be done about D.C.? Do House Republicans have an argument when it comes to the oversight of D.C. when it pertains to crime, or is this an overreach?
Look, at the bottom line is that we believe in both. We in the Democratic side, we believe in self-determination for D.C. and we believe in safety, and you try to find the right balance between the two. Yes.
Senator Hawley says he's going to try to seek D.C. this week for a bill to ban TikTok. Would you stand in the way of that?
Look, this is a very serious issue, and there are national security concerns. We're going to look to our committees to find the best solution in that regard. Yes.
Did you have a chance to fix the debt ceiling problem back in December when you still had two passes that were blue?
You needed bipartisan support, and it wasn't there. Yes.
Do you think Speaker McCarthy's letter to the President was any pressure on Democrats to negotiate? And why do you think he's doing it?
I think he's really feeling pressure, but he has no solution. So he keeps saying the same thing. Sit down and negotiate. But as I said, if you sit down and negotiate, we have a plan, he doesn't, what are they going to do? Talk about the weather? And so, McCarthy, we continue to say to McCarthy and the House Republicans, show us your plan. Not some vague, amorphous number that doesn't talk about anything. No, he didn't advance the ball. It was just another sign of the pressure he's under, but he's not moving forward. Yes.
You've met with Julie Sue today. How confident are you about getting Manchin, Sinema, and other moderates involved?
Look, I met with Julie Sue. I think she's an extremely capable nominee. She will look out for the working people of America, as she has done, and we're going to do everything we can to get her passed. Yes.
Are you planning to put any sort of banking regulation bill on the floor in the coming weeks?
Look, as I said, I believe we do need strong legislation in terms of banking, but we need bipartisan support. I'm very glad that Senator Brown is working in a bipartisan group to get something done.
Leader Schumer.
Thank you, everybody.